What happens if you buy a premium car and 6 months later the dealership is gone? No service, no warranty support, a $2,700 maintenance package suddenly worthless. That's not a hypothetical anymore. It's happening right now to Audi owners across China. So here's the uncomfortable question. If a global luxury brand like Audi can leave customers stranded this fast, what actually protects you as an owner? Is a low sticker price really a deal? Or a hidden risk? And why does Tesla's upcoming lower-cost model look structurally safer even before it launches? That's what we're breaking down today. Welcome back to AutoGearshift. If you value clear numbers and straight logic over marketing promises, hit subscribe and turn on the bell. Help us push this channel to 24,123 subscribers. One click gets you smarter EV decisions and keeps this kind of analysis coming every week. Now let's talk about what Audi's China trouble really reveals, and why it matters for your next car purchase. How can Audi sell 617,000 cars in 1 year, yet still leave owners without service? Just months later, on paper, Audi's situation in China doesn't look like a collapse. In 2025, the brand still delivered around 617,000 vehicles. That's not a small number. In most markets, that would qualify as a strong year. Sales didn't suddenly fall off a cliff either. Total deliveries slipped about 5 units out of every 100, and the luxury segment dropped roughly 7 out of 100 for the second straight year. Painful, yes, but not catastrophic. So if Audi is still moving more than 500,000 cars annually, how are customers ending up with closed dealerships, voided service contracts, and nowhere to go for repairs just months after buying a vehicle? The answer isn't demand. It isn't product quality. And it isn't even competition from Chinese EV makers. It's structure. Most buyers assume they are buying from Audi. But that's not how the business actually works. Legally and financially, Audi doesn't sell you a car. Audi sells cars to dealerships. The dealership sells the car to you. The dealership handles your maintenance package, your warranty processing, your service appointments, your parts inventory, and often your financing paperwork. Audi, the brand you see on the badge, mostly acts as the supplier. That distinction sounds minor, until something breaks. Because once the car leaves the factory and gets wholesaled to the dealer, Audi has already booked its revenue. The risk now sits with the dealership. The building, the technicians, the service bays, the customer contracts, all of that belongs to a local business that survives on thin margins and monthly cash flow. And in China right now, many of those local businesses simply aren't surviving. Across the country, thousands of auto dealerships have reportedly shut down over the last 2 years. Most were already struggling to make consistent profits even before the EV price war intensified. For Audi specifically, multiple stores in major cities, including Beijing and other large provinces, have either suspended operations, closed outright, or had their authorizations revoked. In early 2026, several Audi owners reported something that would have sounded unthinkable a few years ago. They showed up for service, and the dealership was just gone. Phones disconnected, doors locked, staff laid off. Some of those customers had purchased multi-year maintenance packages costing about $2,700. Overnight, those packages became useless. No transfer, no automatic reassignment to another location, just a prepaid contract tied to a business that no longer exists. Others had bought their vehicles only 6 months earlier. Imagine making your first few payments on a premium German car and discovering you effectively have no local support. Even dealership employees were reportedly seeking legal recourse over unpaid wages. That's usually the final stage of a failing operation, not a healthy one. Why do dealers start dying when discounts hit $15,000 to $20,000 per car? If dealerships are the ones carrying the business, why are so many of them collapsing at the same time? Because the traditional dealer model only works under one condition: healthy margins. For decades, luxury brands like Audi, BMW, and Mercedes relied on a simple formula. Dealers bought cars from the manufacturer at wholesale prices, added a markup, then made steady profit from service, maintenance, parts, and financing. Gas cars needed oil changes, filters, belts, fluids, transmission work, engine repairs. Every visit meant revenue. Even if the sale margin was thin, the service department kept the lights on. That math made sense in the internal combustion era. It breaks down quickly with EVs. Electric vehicles simply don't come back as often. No oil changes, fewer moving parts, less routine maintenance, fewer paid visits. For a dealer that depends on service bays running all day, that's already a structural hit to cash flow before we even talk about pricing pressure. Now add what's happening in China. Audi didn't just lower prices slightly, it slashed them hard. We're talking about discounts that would have been unthinkable for a luxury brand a few years ago. The Audi A3 dropping to around $15,000. The Q3 starting near $19,000. The Q4 e-tron around $22,000. In some cases, that's close to half of the typical global pricing. Imagine you're a dealership that used to make a few $1,000s per car plus long-term service revenue. Now the manufacturer is effectively forcing you to move cars with massive price cuts just to keep volume from falling. You still have the same rent, the same staff, the same inventory financing costs. But every car you sell makes far less money, sometimes almost nothing. This is the part most buyers never see. They assume a dealership is backed by the full strength of a global brand. In reality, many are independent businesses operating on thin monthly cash flow. If inventory doesn't move fast enough, or margins shrink too much, banks tighten credit, suppliers demand payment, and the doors shut. And once those doors shut, every promise attached to that location, service plans, maintenance packages, warranty handling, goes with it. Why can Tesla lower prices without breaking its network? At this point, the contrast is no longer Tesla versus Audi, or luxury versus budget. It's about structure. Two companies can both cut prices by $10,000 or $20,000, but depending on how the business is built, that same move can either stabilize the system or quietly break it. Legacy automakers lower prices the hard way. They keep the same four-layer stack: factory, national distributor, regional distributor, franchise dealer, and each layer needs margin to survive. In most markets, dealers alone carry roughly $2,000 to $4,000 gross margin per vehicle, plus financing interest on inventory that can sit 60 to 120 days on the lot. Add floor plan costs, showroom rent, sales staff, and service overhead, and the entire retail side depends on high sticker prices and service markups just to break even. So when Audi suddenly cuts $15,000 or $20,000 to defend volume in China, that money doesn't come from thin air. It comes straight out of those margins. First, profits shrink at the factory, then dealers lose cash flow, then weaker stores shut down. From the outside, the car looks cheaper. Underneath, the network starts collapsing. Tesla works in the opposite order. It cuts cost first, then price. There is no independent dealer margin to protect, no wholesale inventory step, no third-party borrowing money to hold unsold cars. Tesla sells direct, collects payment directly, and controls the relationship end-to-end. That instantly removes one entire economic layer that typically eats several $1,000s per unit. When you multiply even a $3,000 dealer margin across 1 million cars a year, that's $3 billion of structural cost that Tesla simply doesn't carry. That alone explains why Tesla can adjust pricing without triggering a financial crisis downstream. Then you look at manufacturing. This is where the gap widens. Traditional platforms often use 70 to 100 stamped parts just for the rear underbody. Tesla replaced that with 1 or 2 gigacastings. Fewer robots, fewer weld points, fewer suppliers, fewer failure points. The wiring harness in many legacy cars can stretch over 3 kilometers. Tesla shortened and simplified it to roughly half that length, cutting copper, labor time, and installation complexity. Assembly hours per vehicle drop. Factory footprint shrinks. Every minute saved on the line translates into real dollars, sometimes hundreds per car, sometimes more than 1,000. These are engineering savings, not accounting tricks. So when Tesla reduces a vehicle's price by $5,000 or $10,000, it's usually because the bill of materials and factory time actually fell by a similar amount. The lower price is supported by physics and manufacturing efficiency. When Audi or other legacy brands cut the same amount while keeping the same heavy structure, it's usually margin sacrifice. This difference completely changes the ownership risk profile. With the dealer model, your ownership experience depends on dozens of independent businesses you never chose. Local franchise stability, service department profitability, whether that dealer can still pay rent 3 years from now. If one closes, your warranty experience gets messy fast. With Tesla, service centers, software updates, parts supply, and diagnostics all sit under one company. If a location underperforms, Tesla reallocates internally. The network doesn't fragment. For owners, that removes a major failure point, the middleman. And this is exactly why the upcoming lower-cost Tesla matters more than people think. Many hear cheaper Tesla and assume it must mean corner-cutting or desperation discounting, like what we're seeing from legacy brands in China. But structurally, it's the opposite. Tesla isn't taking a $40,000 car and slashing $20,000 to clear inventory. It's designing a car from day one to cost less to build. Fewer parts, smaller pack, simpler interior, faster assembly, lower factory hours per unit. If production cost drops to the mid-$20,000 range, Tesla can sell in the low $30,000s without starving service or crushing margins. The math still works. That's why Model 2, the expected low-cost model, isn't just a cheap Tesla. It's the product of a cheaper system. And that's the key difference Audi never had. One company discounts because it has to. The other lowers prices because it engineered the cost out first. That's the end of today's episode. So, if Tesla launches a lower-cost model, do you think can it avoid the same trap? Or will cheap eventually turn into the same old ownership headaches we've seen before? Comment your thought. I read them all, and I'll see you in the next one.